Hello, everybody. This is American to Kiwi, and this is one of the last videos that I'll make for a little while. Per my last video, I'll be taking a little hiatus from creating videos down here just to focus on other aspects of my life. But I did want to take some time to talk about my time in New Zealand. So I've been here for 3 months, so I feel like it's a good time to do sort of a review of everything. And yeah, I'm just realizing now, like, this has really come in since I started recording. Yes, my facial hair does grow quite fast. Uh, because I remember my first video, I just went and back and watched it, and I'm like, wow, I had a baby face. So whenever I talk about anything, I sort of like to talk with the bad first and then end with the good. So I think that's what we'll do, is I sort of review my opinions of New Zealand as an American coming in. And obviously this is just my take, my opinion, my perspective, my worldview. So do not take it as gospel. Obviously, I implore you to come down, check it out, find out for yourself. If you're somebody who has been wanting to come down here to New Zealand, the good, bad, the ugly is going to be different for everybody, and it doesn't matter where you go in the world. But this has just been one person's experience, so hopefully it can be beneficial to you. So I guess we'll start sort of with the worst thing, in my opinion, which is why ultimately I need to sort of look into new ventures in my life and focus my time elsewhere. Because things are very socialized here, the pay scale is very equal, and it's a bad thing when you come from a capitalist system where you're used to walking into whatever job that you want to work at and applying and hearing back pretty quickly. We'll get to that in a second. And then typically in a capitalist society, you can dictate a higher salary as well. And unfortunately, because of how things are sort of set up with the economy here, that doesn't really work here. So yeah, that's pretty much it for that. Just to put things in perspective, I took a pay cut to come here working in healthcare, but working in healthcare, they have this thing called the MICA agreement, which I think stands for like Mutual Interdisciplinary Contractual Agreement. But basically every public health sector job, which is like 90% of health jobs here, all got together and created a standardized pay bracket, which is based purely off of years of experience. So even if you have a lot of experience in those years, they're only really going to look at the years of experience. So if you plan on coming down here, bear that in mind, that you can't just walk into any new job and demand a higher salary. That's not going to work down here with the Kiwi way, because also the Kiwis and the Aussies have what they call tall poppy syndrome, which really comes down to there is no such thing as a special snowflake down here. Everybody is very equal. Everyone's on the same playing field. And a lot of people will come down here because you'll be left alone. Like, if you saw a celebrity walking around Christchurch, nobody would bother them because nobody cares, really. Because the way that Kiwis see it is you're just another person living their life, doing a job. Yes, you happen to be more well-known or notarized and remunerated for what you do, but nobody ultimately cares at the end of the day. You're just another person doing their thing. So that leads me to the good. Because everything is very equal, if you're in a position where you don't necessarily make what you're earning in America, for instance, you can come down here and make a good salary. Like, I have a couple of friends that work like trade jobs, minimum wage jobs, or what they would be back home, so like non-skilled labor. And they get paid very well. They get paid very fairly, very equally. There's no tipping culture down here, because everyone gets paid very synonymously across the board, which is good. So the standard of life is equal for everybody, and it doesn't matter what your religion, sex, race, creed, um, sexuality, gender identity, it doesn't matter what any of that is. You're going to have equal opportunity and be respected down here. Because of the tall poppy syndrome phenomenon down here, nobody's going to pry at your personal life either, which is really, really nice. You can just be yourself down here at any point in time. Um, and because of all of that, there's not a whole lot of bad things happening here. Like, if something happens that's like violence related, it's once in a blue moon. It's very isolated. And usually that person was imported from a different country. Like, unfortunately, when the synagogue and mosque incident happened, that was somebody who came over from Aussie. Um, but typically, nothing bad really happens down here, which leads me to, I guess, another thing that I found that's kind of negative. It's because everything is very far. Now, if you're in North Island, things are a bit more integrated, I would say. Like, you can get on a bus and be somewhere pretty quickly, in North Island. But South Island, if you want to go anywhere, you need to drive. Even here in Christchurch, like, when my car was in the shop for a couple of days, I really felt the effects of not being able to do anything because you need to drive. The public transport system is not the same quality as it is in Europe. So if you're a European wanting to come down here, do not expect the same quality of public transport. It exists and it functions and it serves its purpose, but it's not like Romania or the Netherlands or England. When I was in those countries and you miss your bus, oh, you just wait another 3 minutes, the next one shows up. No, it might be a half hour until the next one comes. And the buses, a lot of them do stop quite early in the day as well. As far as everything being far away, my roommate called New Zealand one of the world's prettiest prisons because, with the wages down here, it can be quite expensive to travel overseas. And beyond that, mainland Asia is about a 10-hour flight. Mainland United States is a 13-hour flight. London is an 18, 19-hour flight. The only things that are really close by and accessible are the island chain of Polynesia and Micronesia, Vanuatu, Niue, Rarotonga, Tonga, Chatham Islands, Solomon Islands, Marshall Islands. And even those are like 5 hours for the most part. Aussie is the closest neighbor, sitting at about 2 hours to get from Auckland to Brisbane, and about an hour and a half, I think, is what it takes to get from Sydney over to Christchurch. So those are the only things that are really close. Otherwise, if you want to go somewhere, you're going to need to budget a lot of time and a lot of money to do that. And that being said, because of the economy being very neutralized and because of things being very far, Amazon doesn't really exist down here. If you order something in the mail, especially from overseas, it's going to cost twice as much to get it here because of shipping, and it's going to take a long time. Like, just getting a postcard from my friend back in Pennsylvania, I think he told me he sent it 3 weeks prior to when I finally received it, and that was just a postcard. So just be aware of that if you're trying to ship things down here, you're going to wait a while. And I've heard other expats that have shipped items down from the States in a cargo container, and it's taken a year for all their items to get here. And that's sort of not a bad thing, but it's not a good thing either, is the fact that everything is very slow and easygoing. So, like, in the process of looking for new jobs in America, I would hear back from people within a week maximum, but there's jobs that I'm just now starting to get calls back on here that I applied to a month and a half ago. So it really depends, honestly, on the situation or employer, but Kiwis are very easy come, easy go. Things will happen as they're meant to. Things are slower paced down here, which I think if you come from a very high energy society can be overwhelming at first. But after you sit in it for a little while, you'll find that it's actually really nice to not need to be somewhere constantly and not need to be doing stuff constantly. But once you get over the fact that things are far and expensive and slow, which are kind of the only real bads, and then, like I said, sometimes you'll take a pay cut. Everything is equal down here. You have equal opportunity to access healthcare. You have equal opportunity to the same standard of living as everybody else. And let us not end this video without forgetting to mention New Zealand is beautiful. Like, from where I'm currently living, within 20 minutes of driving, you can be at some of the nicest beaches in the Pacific. In my honest opinion, you can be in some of the nicest mountains in the Pacific in about an hour's drive from here. You can drive up the road a half hour and be in farmland, and further south and be in the middle of open fields and pastures. But it doesn't matter where you go in this country, it's going to feel like a little mini adventure every time you go on the road. So everywhere that I've gone in this country, as you've seen from my videos, it is an adventure. Even if it's just an hour down the road, it is absolutely gorgeous down here. So if nothing else, definitely come down here for a few weeks, drive around, see the countryside. You will not regret it because it is so gorgeous down here. And that's ultimately why I moved here in the first place. Everything is very equal. Everybody's happy. Things are very easy come, easy go, but also things are just magnanimously beautiful, and they really do look after the environment, insofar that I scrubbed my boots down to a millimeter of their lives, and I still had to send them to sanitation chamber when I got here, because that's how seriously they take their ecological conservatism and their biodiversity here, and preserving the infrastructure of the country. It's also one of the only countries in the world that is mostly renewable energy, one of the only countries in the world that is actually trying to completely get rid of petrol-ran vehicles in the next decade, which I think is really cool. So everything is very green down here, as you've seen from my videos. So I know that I've been rambling for about 13 minutes, but I think that really covers a lot of territory with like my first couple of weeks here, 12 weeks to be specific, and I hope that this has been helpful. But I will catch you on the next great adventure.